may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys, listen and listen closely. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, fix your life, go down, hit that subscribe button. Obviously, if this is the first video of ours you've ever seen, you can hold on, don't need to subscribe. Wait, feel us out for the video. But if you watch this channel consistently, make sure you go hit that subscribe button, because currently only 20% of y'all that watch these videos are actually subscribed to the channel. So let's fix that. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers. That would be absolutely massive. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Of course, go down there, drop a like, go to the comment section. Let me know why I'm stupid. Let me know why I'm wrong. And what we are going to be doing in this video is we are going to be talking about some buy low pitchers. Some guys that right now their season stats don't really live up to what my expectations are for them going forward. Now, it will be a little bit interesting on the prices you can actually get on these guys, because a lot of these pitchers I'm going to be focusing in on, they've had 3 solid starts so far, yet one of their performances has been so bad it's skewing their entire year stats. So of course, if you play in a league where someone knows what they're doing, someone understands not to really overvalue this small sample and instead look at the projections for these players coming into the season, it may be a little bit harder to buy low on these guys. But if you are just playing in a league with your buddies, if you're just playing in a league where the owner of this player is going to be looking at a season-long stats and not much context behind it, there's where you can get a massive advantage over your league mates. All right, so now let's get to our first pitcher, someone who I'm not going to lie, we were pretty much all in on this offseason. Video after video after video, I was saying that I wanted to be drafting him in the middle of the second round. And this is going to be Lucas Giolito, who was the 6th pitcher in ADP coming into the season. And he was being drafted right in the middle of the second. And I talked about this over and over and over again, in that late second round of fantasy baseball drafts, at least in my opinion this year, there were a lot of players that I wanted to be avoiding, yet Giolito kind of stood out to us as a 26-year-old ace for the Chicago White Sox, a team that should be pretty good in 2021. I thought that he was going to be a fantastic value in this range compared to the other players that were going there. Now, of course, what we are going to be doing to try to evaluate what we would expect from his 2021 campaign is we're going to go look at 2019, we're going to go look at 2020, and we'll cover what he's done so far in 2021. But if you're new to the channel, I want to give you all a little bit of a background, a little bit of context with how we look at these players. Now, 2019, in my opinion, is going to be the most useful season out of 2019, 2020, and 2021. And that, yes, it's the furthest away. Yes, a lot has changed since then. But we know in 2020, the sample sizes were extremely small. We know that the variation from game to game was very high. In 2021, the sample sizes are even smaller. So that 2019 season, that's what I'm really going to be wanting to focus in on. And in 2019, Giolito was fantastic. Now, keep in mind, he was only 24 years old in this season. So he was going to continue to develop, supposedly, coming into 2021. But in 2019, he pitched 176 innings. What I really liked is the fact that he was able to generate 1.3 strikeouts per inning back in 2019. That's before they changed the baseball a little bit, so you'd expect that maybe to be a little higher now. Now, the whip was also down there at 1.06. The ERA was at 3.41. But strikeout per inning ratio, when we know strikeouts are going to be so important, especially in those points leagues, as well as keeping that whip low, that's what gets us excited. Now, in 2020, what we ended up finding is we ended up finding him pretty much progress both with his strikeout per inning ratio and his whip slightly, not drastically, but enough for us to get excited. The strikeout per innings jumped up to 1.34. So that's a number that is borderline elite. Now, it's not a Jacob deGrom, we will say that, but still, that's a number you can get very excited about. The whip was down there at 1.0. The ERA was still at 3.48. So 2020, he continued, hit that same 2019 campaign, putting up impressive numbers, where in 2021 so far, I mean, he's started 4 games and the total numbers look hideous, but it's mainly from one start against Boston. So if you look at the total numbers out of the 4 games he started, he's only been able to pitch 18 innings. He has only been able to rack up 26 strikeouts, a 5.69 ERA, and a 1.29 whip. So obviously these numbers are disgusting. But if you go through and if you take out that Boston game, that one simple game, and you look at his other 3 starts so far this season, you have him for 17 innings pitched, 9 hits allowed, 5 walks, 26 strikeouts, and only 5 earned runs. So it's a night and day difference here from what you are seeing with the stats with that Boston game and the stats without the Red Sox game. So if we're going to be expecting his numbers to be a little bit more in line with what we saw in those 3 starts, he looks exactly like the pitcher that we expected him to be coming into the season. So if you can use that Boston game skewing his overall yearly average to go out there and buy him potentially low, that's going to be something that we are excited about. Okay, so now let's go over to a pitcher that I believe this may be our first time talking about him, but this is going to be Luis Castillo, who was being drafted as the 10th pitcher off the board in the middle of the 3rd round. Now, the reason we really weren't talking about him too much is we love Max Scherzer in that range. Obviously, Max was our guy that we were going after almost every time if you listen to the videos. But anyway, pitching for the Reds in his prime, only 28 years old. And if you go through, 2019 was not the best year, but it was promising, especially for a 3rd round pick, where in 190 innings pitched, he had 1.19 strikeouts per inning. He had an ERA down there at 3.4, a whip down at 1.14. So now these aren't elite numbers, but they're promising numbers. And in 2020, you actually saw these get slightly better across the board, where the strikeout per innings jumped up to 1.27. The ERA was at 3.21. Now keep in mind, like I said, 2020, very weird, smaller sample. So we would rather look at 2019, even if he was not technically in his prime at that point. But in 2021, it's been very, very bad. In 2021, he's started 3 games so far. He's only made it through 15 innings. He has an accumulative ERA a little over 7, a whip a little over 1.4, and he actually has less strikeouts than innings pitched. And obviously, that is not something that's going to excite you to roster him going forward. But he had one really bad start during this stretch, and that was against the St. Louis Cardinals. And if you decide to take them out of the picture, then you have 12 innings pitched. You have 11 hits and 1 walk, so good for a 1.0 whip. And then you also have as many strikeouts per inning pitched and only 4 earned runs total. So yeah, the overall season hasn't been good, and it's not as drastic as what we saw with Lucas Giolito with that 1 game sample being taken out. But still, I think we can take a step back. We can go, you know what, he's probably a lot closer to his 2019 self than what we have seen accumulative for 2021. So I think he also makes a good buy low. Now, our last pitcher we are going to be talking about is a pitcher that I've heard on multiple other fantasy baseball podcasts people are worried about. This is going to be Jack Flaherty. Okay, so I will say people on other fantasy baseball podcasts, specifically like the CBS podcast, they are drastically smarter than I am. That's the first thing I want to address, and they are worried about Jack Flaherty. And they're mainly talking about his whiff rate not necessarily being as high as you would like to see. He's not getting nearly as many whiffs, and that is predictive of future performance. But here, if we take a step back like we'd like to do, I think that right now you can just say that he has started off cold so far this year because, there was a reason he was being drafted in the late 3rd round. He's only 25 years old, and if we go back to his age 23 season in 2019, so the last full year that we have, he pitched nearly 200 innings. He had an ERA down under 3. He had a whip under 1, and he had significantly more strikeouts than innings pitched. So that's checking the box, checking the box time and time again. Now in 2020, he got significantly worse, but it was only with 40 innings pitched. So it's a small sample where he had a 4.91 ERA, a 1.21 whip. And in 2021, he's continued a not great performance. He's had 21 innings pitched. He has an ERA of 3.8, a whip over 1.1. But if you take out the Reds game, you actually see that whip fall down under 1. And through 17 innings, you only have him with 3 earned runs. So Jack Flaherty, 2 fantastic performances so far. One performance that was a little less inspiring And I think you can take the momentum of other podcasts coming out and talking about how they're worried about him. And you can look at that 2019 season that he had with the full sample and you can go, hey, he's probably a little bit closer to that, because obviously you're not going to be expecting him to get worse from the time he's 23 to 25. So I think Jack Flaherty is maybe someone we should go and send some offers for. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And yeah, that's it. I will see y'all with the video tomorrow. I want to give a big thank you for everyone joining the flock: Devin Strom, Alejandro, Mark, Jared, Caleb, and IV of Lean, Randotron, Micah, Larry, and Tyler.